Good day, everyone. Today is a beautiful day, and I have one of my very, very good friends with me. He studied engineering, and after engineering, he went into banking. He did about 8 years in banking. From banking, he decided he didn't want to be doing the 8 to 5 thing anymore. He went into entrepreneurship. He has been a farmer. He has been an agro entrepreneur, and he has been a network marketer. And recently, very recently, he went into education. I have with me today my good friend, Oluwabusayo Ilesanmi. Busayo, how are you doing?
Man, it's a pleasure being here today. I remember how this started, and let me just say thank you for having me. I mean, it's a pleasure for me. I like connecting with people because, like you mentioned, I'm a network marketer, and I've seen that. See, the whole of life is all about connection, and sometimes you don't know what one small connection can do for you. It can be the one that will open the door you've been knocking all your life. So hey, it's a pleasure to be here.
All right, thank you so much for honoring our invitation. All right, so you grew up in Ilorin.
Yes.
Right, and the beautiful city of Ilorin. How would you say the experience of growing up in Ilorin, how has that shaped your worldview and your values?
Awesome question. I said to people that I was born, bred, reared, almost everything in Ilorin. So Ilorin is a quiet town, a peaceful town, and I was fortunate to have my dad is late now. I was fortunate to be raised by somebody who was very disciplined. I mean, Popsy doesn't take nonsense. At some point, I used to feel like, I mean, she might actually finish because I felt at some point that it was too hard. But you know, looking back now, I thank God for the kind of dad I had. He instilled values. Popsy wasn't, I won't say Popsy was poor. He lived his own life. It was okay. But I'm the last born, and I started cooking at 8. I have 6 siblings, 2 sisters, 4 brothers. But the way we're raised, everybody does his own part of the thing in the house. That's the way I was brought up. So that has helped me to become somebody that I know that if I want to get anything done, I have to work for it. Also, I think the first time because prior to NYC, I used to think that this man was just too hard. But when I got to orientation camp, I think the first day, I can't remember what actually happened. That was the first day I said, thank you. I think I said, thank you, God, for the kind of dad I have. Because it was then that I began to realize, okay, these were the things why I had to be this hard. Instead, if not, I will have been on the street now, if not for so. I used to tell people that I go to MA just 4 times. Not because I was dumb, I had 6 A's, 1 sitting in SSC. So, but I think I didn't prepare enough for JAM or whatever. So I kept doing it. But the kind of upbringing I had, until you get it right, I mean, we're gonna meet my dad at that day. I felt why so permit me to say that it's not possible. So until you get it right, you kept doing it. And of course, eventually I got it. So also I was raised to become very independent. The way I was raised has helped me to become a better person. Thank you.
So when you were in banking, you did about 8 years in banking.
Yes, I did.
And what would be your takeaways from Nigerian banking system?
Good question too. Now one major takeaway from, sometimes when people are talking about Nigerian bank, we talk about the negatives. But one good thing I will say about Nigerian banking system is that it's result based. I mean, maybe 80%. I mean, some people still find their way around politics and all that, but see, actually, when in marketing, it figures you're given a target. It's either you do your target or you don't. And then figures, like they say, figures don't lie, numbers don't lie. If you're told to bring in 300 million over a period of time, and you don't, you yourself, you know that, okay, I've not done this thing. If you are fortunate, you are given another the time you're supposed to get it done is extended. After that, I mean, I used to joke, I say I worked in bank for 8 years, 2 months and 14 days. That's what I say. And then I did GT Bank for almost 7 years. I did Access for 2 months. And then I went to Diamond Bank. In Diamond Bank, I spent 14 months. By the end of my 14 months, I knew I was going to leave. Why? I didn't meet the target. It wasn't, yeah, I could feel them. Maybe I felt like they could have given more time. But hey, I signed an agreement. I was supposed to bring in a certain amount of money. I didn't. So at the end of probation and everything, okay, send me your resignation letter. So for me, that has helped me that you have to be result driven. I mean, yes, things might be difficult, but hey, once you say this is what you want to do, go all out and get it done. Excuses are not allowed. And that's one, I mean, before we started meeting, we were talking about Nigeria, and I said, see, when Buhari started, I said, we can't continue to condone this man saying, okay, some other people did. I used to say that, for example, as an MD of a bank, you're brought in because the bank was failing. And then you're given a certain time to turn around that bank. And then you go like, okay, the previous MD, okay, we know the previous MD messed up. That's why you're brought in. So the banking system has helped me to know how to go for results in anything I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, life itself is all about results. If you cannot deliver the results, then you shouldn't be alive. I'm sorry to say that. So after that, you started your farm business, and you've been doing that now for close to 7 years.
6 years in December.
Yeah, 6 years.
At least full time.
Yeah, full time 6 years. All right. Yeah. So what would you say are the major challenges that you have faced in that business so far?
Another good question. Now, because in Nigeria, where exactly in agri sector, I'm not sure we have insurance per se. So, for example, I was raising fish initially. I raised and then I processed, but now I've stopped raising. Now the challenge is that because it's livestock is living things, you have mortality. There are things, a lot of things happen that are totally out of your control. For example, when you stock your fish, no matter the system you have, some of them will die. That's the truth. Now, depending on the system you are using, maybe it's earthen pond or it's artificial pond. Apart from mortality, because of whatever you have, some of them will not grow as much as you want them to. So now you've done your projection from day one that, okay, after 6 months, I'm going to get this size of fish. Of course, when you get in there, it's a different ball game than most of the calculations they have done. Then if you are now using earthen ponds, rain will fall. Sometimes you have your ponds overflow. So the challenge I saw that if we had a system where our farms could be insured to a reasonable extent, okay, just in case these things that are totally out of your control happen, you can have something to fall back on. I mean, I was telling you before this call that when I stopped raising, I took a business decision because at a point I had a mortality of like almost 100% on a pond of like 5,000 fishes. And then shortly after that, rain fell and then washed another pond away. So I told myself that I don't want to develop high blood pressure. Let me focus on processing. So I think if we have a system where whatever you are doing, whatever area of agriculture you are playing in, you could have some form of insurance. It will enable you to cushion the effect of some of these uneventualities that are totally out of your control.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. But some people, I believe I was on a call some weeks ago, and a farmer, also in Nigeria, but he's into poultry. Okay. And he was talking about some insurance policy. Of course, the discussion was divided because someone said, despite you having those insurance policies, it is always very difficult for you to get your claims.
Yeah.
Then he then made a point. He said, the way you could get claims from insurance guys is if you went into the deal through an agent instead of going to the insurance people directly. That those agents, they know how to help secure claims, right? And so I think that is the side of insurance that perhaps most people are not aware of. So it is something you might want to explore, but be that as it may, now that you have, completely left out the cultivation or the raising of the livestock and focused on processing and then upward marketing and all of that, what would you say is the major benefit that this change in strategy has brought to your business?
Awesome. Another thing, before I even go into that, even in rearing, one challenge I also saw is that, I see a lot of people who also raise fish, and then there is no plan for how to get their products into the market. So at some point, maybe during the peak of the rainy season almost everybody is raising fish. So there's usually a glut. And then of course the people buying will tell you that it's a jackpot now. If you can't sell at, let's say, 500 naira, then you're stuck. So you don't have a choice what to sell for them. So for me, that was actually when I started thinking, okay, instead of just raising your fish and be at the mercy of the guys who come and take it off from your farm, why not add value? And of course, maybe based on my banking experience too, I discovered that if you are adding value to any product, you can play around a little bit. And then because, for example, instead of when you raise your fresh fish, you need to sell that day. Otherwise, you don't sell that day, it's going to get spoiled. But by the time you turn into smoked, or let's say you freeze it, you can keep it for a longer time. And then, of course, instead of just selling to your immediate community, you can take your processed fish, whether it's smoked or take it to another place. So now, the challenge I've seen in processing also is that, okay, for me, I'm choosing to play in a particular market. The kind of fish that I process is not what everybody is used to. Before now, people used to think that it's exactly big now. You don't need to process in hygienic condition. When I started processing, I said, I want to do it differently. So these are the things I do. I use live catfish that I slaughter myself, guts, remove all the alimentary canal, and then clean severely under running water. So the idea is that my fish, when you get my smoked catfish, is like the same process your fish when you want to eat fresh fish at home. That's the same process it goes through. I use live catfish, and I'm emphasizing on that live catfish because I know. Like I was saying, back then we used to go to the farm with my dad. So I've actually been around fish for 3 decades or more. But I know people who also say they do processing of catfish, but they use dead fish or fish that is on the verge of dying. And then, of course, they will get it at a cheaper cost. So sometimes my customers say, "Sorry, your fish is expensive." And I say, well, number one, expensive is relative. 2, premium is not cheap. Idiakwe in long enough. When you go to Idiakwe and you buy smoked catfish, you have fish that has probably been on the whatever for 2 months or 3 months. That when you get to the first thing you do is go and put it in hot water to remove all the maggots. But here, when I came, I said, I want to do things differently. My fish is ready to eat. You can buy and cook immediately without anything. So when I go through all that, of course, the price will be a little different from what is happening. So now the challenge I've seen is that a lot of people still think it's smoked catfish. So bad Jonah or whatever, sorry, when I put in hot water, I will remove all the dirt. So it's taking a while to educate people that, even though it's smoked catfish, you can have hygienically processed catfish. I also do this. Most of the time I don't process and keep. I do order-based process. You order, I process for you. So for example, my customers in line can get their smoked catfish hot. And so I tell you that, see, you don't get that you really get that. It's like straight from even for my customers outside London, maybe Lagos, Abuja, and so you're sure that maximum 48 hours after processing, you get it. So the challenge I'm seeing is a lot of people still need to change. They need to change their mind and say, okay, even though it's small catfish, you can get it in an hygienically processed condition. You can get it as fresh as possible. And then because somebody has taken his time to give you all this, you can't expect to pay the same price of the person who's, I mean, people do process their small catfish, they just cut down, I can, just spread it on there and then they say, it's, I mean, now you are using oven, enclosed environment to keep it very, very safe because, hey, it's food eventually. So those are the challenges I've seen.
Okay, but I wanted to know the difference between when you were combining raising the livestock and processing. So what improvements have you seen in your bottom line, for example, and managing stress level? How would you say the benefit of the business, has improved for you?
Man, it's like you said, for stress. Okay, I said I think it was November 2018 that I think October, I had this mortality, 5,000 fishes actually died, which had never happened to me before. Then like a month after, rainfall swept away a whole pond of fish. I mean, if I wasn't that strong, it could have given me a lifestyle disease because my blood pressure could have just shot up and then that would have been it. So for me, when that happened, I took a business decision. I told myself, I don't want to become hypertensive because, it was because I use natural pond, rain will keep falling. And then, of course, sometimes when you think you have put the best mechanism in place to secure your pond, sometimes, once the water going out of your pond is lower than the water coming in, of course, it will overflow. For example, let's say the rain side at night when nobody is on site, is on the farm. And then, of course, even if you have created all the outlets, sometimes because of the volume of water coming from the rain, and then the one entering the pond too. So that happens. So for me, leaving rearing has reduced. I mean, now I'm not tense about, because it was so bad that when rain is about to fall, like, hey, man, I hope this thing will not happen again. So I told myself I don't want to do that. Also for the bottom line, because now, when you're raising fish, you're looking, depending on the size you're looking at maybe 4 to 6 months. So my cycle average was 6 months between when I pour my juvenile into the pond and when I get my table size. But now with just processing, because I'm buying off people who are raising, 1 month, my cycle is completed. Now, I might not get the volume of money I will have gotten if I'm still raising. But in terms of bottom line profit, I'm making more money because now I'm turning, instead of waiting for 6 months, I'm having 6 cycles instead of 1 cycle. And of course, you also know the time value of money. I mean, your 100 naira in January is not 100 naira in June. I mean, inflation happens. So eventually you are making more money. And I'm calmer now. I don't have to, because then when it was, man, I hope this is not going to happen. I told myself I couldn't continue that way.
So yeah, good answer. So like a year or so ago, right? I saw that you started doing network marketing, long reach products, and all of those. So, and people will be thinking, what is Busayo doing in this space? Hasn't this space been overcrowded in the first place? Because I remember back then there's this GNLD and the likes, right? So what would you say drew you into network marketing?
Awesome question. Now, interestingly, my wife's cousin, she was a year my junior in secondary school, had actually introduced Longreach to me for a while. I think like 5 years before I eventually signed up. And for whatever reasons, he just didn't connect with me. And of course, after I left the bank, I started my fishing. I was doing it. And then I think last year, interesting because she's my wife's cousin, my wife knows about what she does. I went, okay, so why not look at this thing again? Check it out. Maybe it's something we can do. So in February, I think it was actually February 20, I said, okay, I signed up. Now, one of the things I discovered that a lot of people, the mistake a lot of people make is that you think that, okay, it's network marketing. You just forget the network out of it. You think it's marketing. Because I had experience in banking and I did like 5 years out of 8 years in marketing, I thought I knew how to network. Me and my brother, I was in for a root shop. For the first 4 months after I joined, I didn't sign up. I signed up just one person. It was after I consciously went out on my way to learn how to do network marketing that I started having some level of results. So of course, yeah, your question about being crowded, overcrowded, absolutely not. Now, for example, in long grade, this is what we say: do a brand switch. Switch your brand and recommend the product to other people. Now, there are products that you can't do without on a daily basis. Like today now, I'm sure you brushed your teeth, you had your bath. If you're a cream person, most guys don't use cream. I don't use cream, but hey, for guys that you probably use cream, you use antiperspirant and all that. These are things you cannot do without on a daily basis. Now, generally in network marketing, this is what happened. It was after I went for this thing that I got to know network marketing companies do not advertise. I'm not sure you know. You will never see generally raise an advert in any media. No. They need me and you that are their distributors to do the marketing. So it was when I got to that thing, I thought, oh, okay, this is actually why they need to keep recruiting. Because now, for a traditional marketing company, for example, Longreach is based in China. When Longreach produces, Longreach is supposed to have maybe at least one country rep in Nigeria. From that country rep, they have state representatives. From the state rep, they have distributors, wholesalers, retailers before it finally gets to the final consumer. Now, what the network marketing company does is they get people like me who have tasted the products, who have used the products. And then with our experience, we go on and say, see, I've used this product. These products work. Not necessarily because I'm making money for, okay, let me share a simple experience. My second daughter has very early skin. And she used to have this outbreak on her face at least once in a month. So after I signed up, I said, okay, let me check. They have this product called Bamboo Charcoal Soap. And then she started using it. And since then, this is like 18, 19 months, all that has become easy. So now when I go all out and I see somebody who tells me that, okay, I have oily skin, I just recommend the product. So what we are doing is we're actually solving a need. We are bridging the gap between the company and the end user. So the money the network marketing company will have paid for advertisement, will have paid to all the middlemen, is now shared between the company and the distributors. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, interesting. So then that means the concept is basically because they don't advertise, you guys that are on their platform, you are quote and unquote the advertisers.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
And again, one of your new projects, which is Àṣà àti Èdè Yorùbá.
Yeah.
And so what's inspired you to set up that project?
Interestingly, in secondary school, I think back in JSS3, I just love Yoruba. As in, it was so good. It was so good that my siblings used to think that, where are you, where am I? They used to think that I was going to study Yoruba because my teacher back then, when you are teaching, back then, Yoruba wasn't like anything. You didn't have this call or whatever. But this man, interesting now, is a professor of studying, but he taught us Yoruba with a passion. And I just could connect with it. Now, the funny thing was I didn't do Yoruba in SSC for whatever reason, which now, when I started there, I look back and say, that was a dumb decision because, hey, but I love the way the man taught Yoruba. Now, let me share this experience. There was this Owiki Ogun. JSS3 was in 93, 94. That's 28 years ago. I still remember Owiki Ogun today. Ogunla Kayos, blah, blah, I remember then when I recited my sibling, but it wasn't, I just loved that language. Now, by the time I finished school, by the time we left the University of I went to SEP, by the time I started working, I just felt like, okay, I wasn't going to use Busayo again. I wanted to be using Oluwabusayo because I felt like my name has more meaning when I write it full. Now, how did Ashate the Yoruba started? A classmate from secondary school just saw me. Of course, you know, everybody, most of us have WhatsApp groups. So she saw me write my name, Oluwabusayo Ilesanmi, with the Ami Okianisale, and she was like, ah, really? So she reached out to me and she said, okay, she's been thinking about something like we could do for you. And anything for the language, I'm all in. That's actually, it was last year. That was actually how Ashate the Yoruba started. And then we bounced it off ourselves. You know, sometimes when you are thinking of an idea, we went to sleep again. And then I think earlier this year, again, about April, she reached out to me and said, Sarah, this thing, let's do something about it. And then two of my other colleagues, that's Ikeja in the UK, other person, colleagues in Malaysia, we came together and then we started this thing. And I mean, we are still far from what we've been, but you know, the fact that we are contributing to ensuring that the language and the culture that it has is preserved. Because one thing you also see is that in Nigeria, most of us like the foreign things, which for me is not bad, but it's good to also retain your own identity. And that's one thing I appreciate the Chinese for. A Chinese man or a Chinese woman will speak your English, but you, by the time you get into their midst, they are communicating in their own language. And especially for you, but you know, especially when you're out there now, if you are not careful, your kids will not even understand a single word of Yoruba. For me, I think it's something we need to consciously deliberately work in. And ensure that even when you're out of Nigeria, you can connect with your roots. And there's no better way to connect with your roots than your language and the culture. So it started by somebody saying, me writing my name, putting Ami Okianisale, and I felt like, maybe interestingly, she actually used to, I think she used to teach English language to Chinese students. So it was based on our experience, like, okay, maybe we can do something for, because you know, now, like I was saying, we have several people who are in diaspora. Some of them were born there. Some of them have not even been in Nigeria since they've been born. And then, you know, we're just finding a way to ensure that you can connect back to your roots using the language and the culture.
So you guys should have it. It's an online platform, correct?
Yes, it is.
And so obviously you are charging for it.
Yes, we are.
And so how did you schedule the class? Is it a one teacher to one student arrangement? How does it work?
Awesome question. So now this is what we do. When you sign up for Ashate de Yoruba, you get an email. Then after that, you now we have an assessment system whereby it's not just us saying or telling us, okay, your kids speak Yoruba. No, we like to have an interaction with them, of course. So we have this online assessment system on Zoom, whereby the parents of the child or whoever the client is come on board. We ask you some series of questions. We know, okay, from the interactions we are having, we can start from level 1, or okay, we can move into level 2 and all that. So based on that, you can now then we now ask you, what are you looking at getting from this platform? Based on that, I mean, we have like 3 or 4 packages. We have a premium package, which is a one-on-one session, just you and the tutor, and usually for 45 minutes long. Now, the good thing also is that the client should be the one to decide when it's convenient for the person. Now, of course, we are still growing, so probably now we still have just like 2 or 3 tutors. But we're going to get to a place where no matter the time that you choose, we can have a tutor to handle it. Of course, the premium class, which is like premium actually, is that it's one-on-one, 45-minute session, 45 minutes per session, and we have 24 sessions. So if you want to have it once in a week, that means 6 months. If you want to have it twice in a week, that means 3 months. We don't encourage you to do more than three times in a week. Why? But exactly for the kids, you don't want you to look at a chore. Actually, for kids who are born in the US, UK, Australia, and all that. We want them to enjoy learning Yoruba. So we actually advise maximum 2 times in a week, so that, or if possible, once, so that they look forward to learning the language. So of course, the premium, you also have access to the recording from the session. So let's say the parent is not even around, you can see, okay, how is my son faring? You can get the recording and actually see, you can assess your child to know that, okay, if this thing is actually learning makes sense.
So if a student, okay, comes on board now, right, and they want to go for the premium, okay, so what you are saying is that your offerings will only then be, they have the class for 5 minutes per session, and they have access to the recording of the class, and it goes for 24 sessions.
24 sessions, yes.
Right. Then at the end of those sessions, is there going to be any examination or any test, or, you know, so how do we assess the progress of the sessions?
Yeah. So I actually forgot to say that for all the packages, we have assessment, daily assessment, which is sent to the clients maximum 24 hours after each session. So that the idea is that the parents can see, even if they don't go for the recording, because some of the other packages don't come with recording, but at least from the feedback, you can see, okay, my son is trying to learn this word in Yoruba, okay, he's improving. Because those feedback is necessary for you to get like almost instant feedback to say that, okay, my son is improving. I mean, we have clients from the US, from Canada, from UK, and all that. So the feedback is necessary to ensure that you are getting value from what you're paid for.
All right. And anybody watching this and saying, okay, I would like to be a tutor, how do you guys recruit your tutors, and what are the criteria?
Yeah, but basically, like I said, we are still growing. But of course, Ikeja and I have already talked about that. Where we are going, definitely it can't just be, because by the time you start onboarding people, definitely we need to, of course, number one, we have our own designed teaching template. So before you start teaching our clients, we have to train you. We have guide, things that will help you know. So of course, we talk to you first. And then also one of the very, very important things we need to let our tutors know that, see, time is very, very important. Once we commit to a time, because you know you are out there in Australia now, you know the value of time. You know, in Nigeria, we think you can give a client a time for 9 and then stroll in at 9:20. I mean, because the clients are paid, we need to let our tutors know, see, there's no excuse. If you have a class by 9, you must be in class maybe minimum 5 minutes to 9. So, because I mean, you can imagine you have a client for 9 and then the tutor they show up. How will that's reputational loss for us? So one key thing we are trying to let our tutors know, see, apart from knowing what to teach the clients, it's that you must be committed to showing up. And of course, Kika was telling me interesting that when she was taking the Chinese English, that if you don't show up for a particular class, if you don't show up minimum 3 minutes to class, you are marked absent. And not only are you marked absent, you are charged for the cost of that. And that's something we're actually going to invite, because you know we need to let people know, yeah, even though no matter what the remuneration is, once you've given your commitment, you must honor
it. That's a good check in your process. Okay, this year is almost gone, right? We are looking towards 2020, God willing. I mean 2022, God willing.
Yeah.
Right. And what would you say is your vision for this project for 2022?
Man, it's actually huge. Our plan, Kika and I actually, we speak almost all the time. Our plan is to get to a minimum of 200 signups. At the moment, we have about 10 or less. So in the next 6 months, not even 1 year, we're looking at getting up to 200 clients, paid clients. So of course, by the time we're looking at 200, definitely we need to recruit more tutors. And then, so we have strategies in place to keep people informed, to get people informed about what we are doing. We're trying to do some adverts all over social media and all that, because one of the things that you get to realize that there are people out there, especially in diaspora, who are looking for this opportunity that, okay, I want my children to learn, even if just for basic communication. And then you also realize that sometimes when you're traveling, your kids do something, you don't want to speak English to them because you don't want everybody to understand what you're saying. Or you're just outside in a mall. You want to say Benga, Kilo Share. So having that language and having the ability to communicate with your kids in your own language is an asset that you should not throw away. So of course, like I said, our vision is for the next 6 months, like I said, to get to minimum 200 paid clients. 200. That's where we are. That's where we're starting.
That's awesome. And if we go back to your agribusiness.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any expansion plan that you have for that project?
Definitely. Actually, before COVID started, COVID scattered a lot of things all over the world. Before COVID started, I was in touch with one of the largest importers of smoked fish into the UK. And then we had started discussing on how we could work together and all that. Of course, COVID started things. Almost for a whole year, we couldn't, nobody was moving anything again. So we've started talking again. Of course, now things are a bit slower because for obvious reasons. But hey, the kind of volume he's looking at is maybe like 5 tons of smoked catfish on a monthly basis. That's like 20 tons of fresh fish on a monthly basis. That's huge. So definitely, when we get to that river, definitely I need to do a lot of expansion. I need to get people on board. So of course, it's in the pipeline. It's in the pipeline.
Okay, awesome. Busayo, I think we should draw the curtain at this point in time. But before you go, okay, what would you say to any entrepreneur out there that is struggling with his or her business? What are your words of encouragement for such person?
Well, network marketing actually has taught me quite a number of things. One of the things we say in network marketing is that as long as you don't quit, you win. And I permit me to go back into network marketing. A lot of people see network marketing as quick fix. It's not. Yeah, I say when I do my live session on Facebook, I say it's a simple business model. When people hear simple, they think it's easy. No, simple and easy, they're two different things. If you Google, simple means you probably have, it's easy to understand. It's not complicated, but you need to put in the effort. So now, one of the things I've learned from network marketing is, even though it's a simple business model, you need to show up and consistently show. So for an entrepreneur who's struggling with business, number one, I say, have the right mindset. Your mindset, because sometimes you see somebody working very hard, but in his mind, he doesn't see himself or herself as a winner. So you're putting in the effort, but you think that, I'm not going to get anything. It's going to be counterproductive. Have the right mindset, 1. 2, secondly, is be ready, be committed to go all the way. In closing, I saw a quote by Lionel Messi about a few weeks ago. And for me, that quote was loaded. Sometimes when you see this sports star, some of us just think that, hey, he's just fortunate, he's just lucky. The guy said, I wake up early. I stay up late. Daily, every day, year in, year out. He said, it took me 17 years and 114 days to become an overnight success. So for me, what does that mean? It means there's nothing called overnight success. If you want to become successful in anything, you must be ready to put in the time. There's no two way about it. Like we say, Rome wasn't built in a day. Nobody becomes successful in anything overnight. And for especially for younger people coming up, especially in Nigeria, everybody wants that you want to blow. Like they say, there's nothing called blow. You can't blow. So by blow, you just get off the system. But if you are committed to anything you are doing, consistently so, after a while, you start getting the kind of result.
Thank you so much. This is an awesome wrap. Thank you so much for your time, Busayo. Hopefully, sometimes again in future, we will get to discuss this your new project and check on you to see how far you are going with that. Thank you for your time, Busayo.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Cheers. Bye.